Calm Kids videos.
In a sunny forest full of tall trees and chirping birds, there lived a little bunny named Benny. Benny was cheerful and full of energy. He loved hopping around, playing with his friends, and nibbling on sweet clover. But there was something Benny wanted more than anything else. He wanted to win the forest race. Every year, the animals of the forest held a big race. It was the event of the season, with all the animals cheering and clapping for their friends. Benny had watched the race every year, and this time he had decided to join. "This is my year," Benny declared. "I'm going to win." One sunny morning, Benny told his friends, Mia the mouse and Ollie the owl, about his plan. Mia's little nose twitched nervously. "Benny, the race is really hard," she said. "There are big logs to jump over, slippery, muddy puddles, and the steep hill of challenges. It's called that for a reason." Ollie, who was wise and calm, flapped his wings and said, "It's not an easy race, Benny. It takes a lot of practice and determination." But Benny just grinned. "I can do it," he said confidently. "I just need to practice. You'll see. I'm going to win this year." And so, Benny began his training. Early the next morning, while the dew still sparkled on the grass, Benny hopped to the starting line where the race would begin. He decided to start with the first challenge, jumping over logs. The logs were big, much bigger than Benny had imagined. He hopped back a few steps, took a running start, and leaped, but splat! Benny's feet hit the edge of the log, and he tumbled over. Benny dusted himself off and tried again, and again. But each time, he either tripped or didn't jump high enough. Frustrated, Benny sighed. "This is harder than I thought," he muttered. Next, Benny decided to try the muddy puddles. The puddles were wide and slippery. Benny hopped toward the first one and jumped, but his feet landed right in the middle with a loud squish. His fur was covered in sticky mud, and he had to wriggle free. "Yuck," Benny said, shaking his paws. Finally, Benny walked to the base of the Hill of Challenges. It was tall and steep, with rocks and roots sticking out. Benny took a deep breath and started hopping. At first, he made good progress, but halfway up, his feet slipped on a loose rock, and he slid all the way back down. Benny sat at the bottom of the hill, feeling tired and discouraged. "Maybe I'm not good enough to win," he thought sadly. Just then, Benny's friends arrived. Mia scurried over to him. "Benny, don't give up," she squeaked. "Even the best racers fall sometimes. You just have to keep trying." Ollie perched on a low branch and nodded wisely. "Remember, Benny," he said, "every big achievement starts with small steps. You don't have to get it perfect the first time. What matters is that you keep going." Benny listened to his friends and felt a little spark of determination inside him. "You're right," he said. "I'm going to keep practicing. I won't give up." From that day on, Benny worked harder than ever. He practiced jumping over logs every morning until he could leap gracefully over even the tallest ones. He learned how to hop lightly over the puddles without getting stuck in the mud. And every evening, he climbed the Hill of Challenges. Sometimes he slipped, but he always got back up and tried again. With every hop, Benny grew stronger and more confident. Finally, the day of the big race. The forest was buzzing with excitement. Animals of all shapes and sizes gathered at the starting line. Benny stood among them, his heart pounding. He looked at the big logs, the muddy puddles, and the hill of challenges in the distance. He felt a little nervous, but then he remembered all his hard work. "I've practiced for this," Benny thought. "I won't give up." The whistle blew, and the animals dashed forward. Benny raced to the first challenge, the logs. He jumped high and cleared the first log, then the second. By the third log, Benny felt confident. He leaped higher than ever and soared over it. Next came the muddy puddles. Benny hopped carefully, landing on the dry spots between the puddles. He almost slipped once, but he quickly balanced himself and kept going. "I can do this," Benny thought. "I've practiced for this."
Then, Benny reached the hill of challenges. He looked up at the steep, rocky slope. Some animals were already climbing, and others were slipping back down. Benny took a deep breath and started hopping. The hill was tough, just like before. Halfway up, Benny slipped and fell to his knees. For a moment, he felt like giving up. But then, he heard his friends cheering. "You can do it, Benny," Mia squeaked from the sidelines. "Don't give up." "Keep going, Benny," Ollie hooted. "You're almost there." Benny's ears perked up. He remembered how many times he had climbed this hill during his practice. He took a deep breath, dug his paws into the ground, and kept going. One hop, then another, then another. Finally, Benny reached the top of the hill. From there, the finish line was in sight. Benny raced down the hill, hopping as fast as he could. He saw Terry the tortoise ahead of him, slowly but steadily making his way. Benny gave one last burst of energy and hopped across the finish line just in time. Benny had done it. He had won the forest race. But more importantly, he had learned the power of perseverance. "That was the toughest thing I've ever done," Benny said, panting. "But I'm so glad I didn't give up." Ollie nodded. "You see, Benny, practice and determination always pay off." "And even if you fall," Mia added, "you just get back up and try again." Benny smiled and looked at his friends. "Thanks for believing in me," he said. "I couldn't have done it without you." And so, Benny celebrated his big victory with his friends. But he also discovered something even more important. When you work hard and never give up, you can achieve amazing things. Remember, little one? If something feels hard at first, don't be afraid to try again. Just like Benny, you can do anything you set your mind to. Never give up.